ESPR Boxing. We are back, myself and Paul Kelly. We are back in the finest mode of all. We're in preview mode. We are previewing world title action from Japan this weekend, aren't we, Paul? We have got Nakatani versus Astrolabio for the WBC World Bantamweight title. 12 rounds, obviously, of action coming there, which, to be honest with you, will be in Japan. So it'll be good for the timeline, good for us British fans. We'll be getting that hopefully at a decent time. Paul, thank you very much for joining me. Obviously, let everyone know you're well. Hopefully you are well. I think you're smiling away. You look well. Before we get too much into it after that, I want to touch on, we like to hit hard, though. We don't like to go too much into the record. Nakatani, been known for some time now, 27-0 record. The question I want to ask, really, and looking at the names around that sort of bantamweight division, Takai, Nakatani, obviously Nishida, Inoue, not obviously NAOYA, the other Inoue. Is Nakatani, to your mind, Paul, at this stage in time, the best bantamweight in the world, please? If you'd like to give us that answer after you tell us how you're doing, please.
Yeah, mate, look, good to be back in the previews with yourself. I mean, short and sweet here, I think he's comfortably the best bantamweight currently in the world. Looking at the names at 118 pounds at bantamweight, I'm like, which one of you could beat Nakatani at the minute? I'm struggling to see any that are really jumping out at me and thinking, do you know what, that would be a real 50-50. Don't get me wrong, there'll be quite a few tough fights for Nakatani. As you said, there's some very credible names up in the upper echelons of the bantamweight division, but wow, man, Junto Nakatani is an animal. I mean, he's 27-0. He's still only 26. Massive punch power as well. 20 KOs? Remember his knockout of the year contender last year, was it? I think, or maybe even the year before. Unbelievable. Already a 3-weight world champion. He's obviously a southpaw too, which people don't like. He's big for the weight. He's 5'7.5", which is obviously pretty big for a bantamweight. Yeah, I don't see anyone beating him at bantamweight. To be quite honest with you, what about yourself?
No, I don't, Paul, either. Especially not Astrolabio. Guy's lost 4 times and has been stopped. And like you say, Nakatani carries power. I think we're going to get into our predictions, obviously, at the end of this video. But I think the only real prediction for me is, does Nakatani stop him, or does Astrolabio manage to last the distance? And we'll talk about that in a minute. But before we do, Paul, I want to ask you a question. And it's actually about moving weight divisions. You mentioned Nakatani, obviously 3 different weights. But I'm going to talk about him going up to super bantamweight. I'm going to talk about another fighter in Japan. I'm going to talk about NAOYA Inoue. How do you see that fight going? Obviously, both men like to punch. They like to punch hard. Do you think we've not spoken about this off camera, but I'm going to put words in your mouth and assume you don't think this fight would go 12 rounds. But if you think it finishes prematurely, Paul, who do you think wins? Please, we'd like to let us know that.
Oh, mate, I mean, it's just, thanks for throwing that curveball at me first and foremost. But yeah, I mean, what a fight that would be. Nakatani against Inoue up at super bantam. Could see it, unless we don't, as you said, we only know really the massive names in Japanese boxing. Unless they're like really good friends or something away out of the ring and wouldn't fight each other, which we've seen in the past plenty of times in various weight divisions. Then yeah, maybe that fight would never happen. But say they're not really familiar with each other, apart from both being obviously Japanese. Then yeah, man, what a fight! I love that fight. Bring me that right now. Again, as you mentioned, right? Beat Japan time, Tokyo time, right in the middle of the afternoon for us. Lovely lunchtime treat. I'm all over that fight. I'd love it. And I'm not going to sit here and say Nakatani would beat Inoue just yet. I think your head's telling you that Naoya Inoue is at his peak right now and would probably have too much for Nakatani. But again, he's a lot young. He's 5 years younger, Nakatani. Could in the future, another few years when maybe Inoue, I'm not saying he will be, but maybe Inoue starts to get a little past his best in a few years' time. Could Nakatani beat him then? Absolutely. It's a fight I would love to see down the line. And yeah, depending on their situation promotionally and managerially and what so on and so forth, it's a fight I could probably realistically see happening, and I really hope it does happen.
Yeah, no, very prudent, Paul, actually, I'd say. But the point about the age thing, I think I also agree with you. I don't think Inoue would lose Nakatani and maybe in the next sort of couple of years. But after that, if it crosses over, maybe you could get to him. But I think, yeah, I'd be backing Inoue if they were to fight in the sort of recent period. But Paul, we're not here to talk about that. We're talking about Nakatani versus Astrolabio. We're into prediction time now. And I'm going to, the chivalrous thing for beating me to go first, but I'm not going to go first, Paul. You are going to go first. Let us know your prediction, please, for this one. How does it play out? Who wins and why, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel bad with briefly mentioned Astrolabio here. And he's former world title challenger. Was really close in that defeat to Jason Maloney last year. I think it was a majority decision, but I don't see in this one being as close in his second attempt at becoming world champion. Quite frankly, I think Nakatani is going to stop him convincingly. I think he's going to be, I don't know, 5-6 rounds up, and then yeah, he's going to brutally stop him. A couple of knockdowns in there as well. I'm going for a Nakatani stoppage around rounds 5, 6, 7. I'll go the 6, 7 is where my mind's at for Nakatani to stop Astrolabio. As you said, Astrolabio has been stopped before. Big puncher as well in his own right, but we've seen him stop before against someone far less of a puncher and less of a lot less of a talent than Nakatani. So I'm going with Nakatani stoppage. What about you?
You know what, Paul? I'm feeling the pressure. Actually, we've had a comments obviously some of our videos. I've got the calls wrong. People are looking out for him. But I'm going to go for Nakatani stoppage as well. I'm actually going to go somewhere around 7 to 9, maybe slightly later than you, but I think the stoppage is on for Nakatani here. I'll spend a special shout out, especially to Gary Graham there, who's not forgiven me for Price versus McCaskill, but hopefully this week the Nakatani stoppage somewhere 7 to 9 will redeem me partly to those watching. But I think, that's where I'm going, Paul. I totally agree with you. I think Nakatani stoppage too much at this stage. But that is lads, ladettes. But that's all we've got time for today. We have to call the video short there. So we've got other prediction videos on the channel. We've obviously got Chisora Joyce fights coming up. We've obviously got other content with interviews, fighters, reviews and previews of all the upcoming action. Like and subscribe as usual. Please let us know in the comments. Gary, keep commenting. Let us know if you think we're right or we're wrong this week. Please feel free to point me out on anything I may have got wrong as well. As for Paul as well. Paul, thank you very much for joining me. As always, guys, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. All the best, guys.